Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. Today I have come to New Aberdour Beach to tell you about all of the things that I don't like about my Tesla Model Y. One thing that you see a lot of Tesla owners talking about, and especially a lot of non-Tesla owners who are never going to be Tesla owners talking about, is build quality. Now, there were some issues with early cars from the Fremont factory in California, but mine's from Shanghai and largely it's good. There are a couple of little things that niggle at me, and I don't actually think you can even describe them as panel gaps. It's more the way the thing's designed and built. So actually, let's look at just, that is consistent on both sides of the car, but it's not great. And similarly, if this, where there's actually quite a gap between the pane of glass and the B-pillar. Now I know it's frameless and you're going to get that, but it doesn't look mega. And then this, as you go along the roofline here, and then you've got basically this down here. Now that, again, it is consistent on both sides of the car, and I understand it's functional because of the tailgate assembly, but it doesn't look great. This doesn't look great. Now that is like that, not because it's been badly built, but just mainly because there's more rubber on this side of it than there is on this side, so it looks like there's a bit of a step up. My Nissan Leaf in 2014, which by the way was rubbish, that had panel gaps and quite a few other things that I had to get them to adjust. This looks like it's got panel gaps, even though it hasn't. And that's probably just a design thing, but it is a bit odd. In one of my top 10 cool features videos, I talked about the cool little winglets that the wing mirrors come on, and they are still cool. But for my things that aren't so great, I want to talk about internal build quality and internal fit. Frankly, I can get a whole finger down there between the top of the dashboard and the trim on the door, and you've got this bit here where it doesn't actually meet it, and again that's the end of that piece and the start of that piece. That's never going to meet. It simply isn't long enough on here, and similarly the gap there, and similarly the gap here. It's all solid, it's all made of nice materials, money has been spent on it and thought has gone into it, but it doesn't feel or look like a £55,000 car. And at the time I'm recording this, it's even more than that. By the time you've actually got one on the road, it's going to be more like £59,000. So, I've had cars of this kind of price bracket before. My Volvo S90 Inscription was similar money, and the inside of that was, frankly, absolutely beautiful. It was a palace. I've never seen anything as gorgeous or sat in anything as great, but not the right car for me anymore. Diesel engine, bad, had to go. This, it's so well thought through, mostly, center console aside. It's so well thought through. It's just that they really could put a little bit more effort into closing some of these gaps. We have to talk about voice control. Now, let's be fair to Tesla here. With my accent, and it's not that broad, it's Northern English, but with my accent, I found over the years that all voice control systems are bobbins. And this one is no exception. The difference is there are so few controls and everything is run through the screen, and the advice is just use the voice control. Okay, then that's absolutely fine. Defrost rear screen. Command not understood. Turn screen heat on. It's actually got that one. We get some of the stupid things that they can do, such as open asshole. And that has just opened the charging flap. Close asshole. Now then, we're not in America, and it's not an asshole. Open bumhole. Close arsehole. Okay, fine. All right. So it's not all bad. Some of the things that you want voice control to do don't always get done, which, okay, that's not really a Tesla thing, that's just a voice control thing. maybe I've got to give them some credit back for the fact that they allow for entertainingly silly voice commands like, my balls are cold. At which point it puts the seat heater on. My balls are too hot. And then it turns, hang on, it's decreased. Right, okay, this is logic. So it turned the seat heater on. I then said that they were too hot, and it has turned the temperature down by 1.5 degrees, but it still left the seat heater on. I think there's some accent and logic issues, or maybe it just doesn't talk proper like what I do. We have to talk about rattles. You'll see a lot of people talking about rattles and things creaking. Now, I don't have any issues with creaks. I don't have any issues with, you know, things like this rattling or anything like that. But you do get rattles, and I think a large part of it comes from the seat belts, because that is plastic. That is plastic, and this is one of the cheaper bits of material. So it's very, 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 very easy for that to rattle against the pillar. And all I needed to do was put a bit of material or something on the back, or frankly change the design of this a little bit so that it's not quite so hard, and that would go away. I'd be very interested in the comments what experience other people have got and what solutions they've got to fix it, because honestly I need to do the same thing. And in the back, the two seat belts on the side, they do it quite a bit, and that you can pull them out and then they start vibrating and rattling again. So it's not trim, it's not really build, it's just a bit of design where I don't think they've quite thought it through. Part of the automation on Tesla Model Y, Tesla Model 3, probably all of them actually, is the way that it reads speed signs and then changes the way that it's behaving based on what it's seeing. When you're driving along and you go past a school where it has a switchable speed limit. So, for example, a 20 miles an hour speed limit, when the amber flashing lights next to the speed are illuminated. And of course, they're not illuminated, it's a 50 limit or whatever it is, and the car sees 20 and slows down hard because it thinks it's going too fast in a slow speed limit. It's not ideal. Now, the other part I know of the car doing things that isn't ideal is phantom braking. I read quite a lot about phantom braking. Perhaps you want to tell me in the comments about your experiences. I've had a couple where it's overreacted to a truck that's parked or in another lane or something similar, but I haven't had a slamming the anchors on experience as I know some people have. Perhaps that's because I only have standard autopilot and not enhanced, and certainly not the laughably titled full self-driving, which really isn't and never will be in the UK, but Elon still wants our money. So it's not great, but the speed limit sign thing for me is worse. You might think this is a good piece of design. The Tesla Model Y and the Tesla Model 3 both come with a pair of wireless charging pads for mobile phones, which is great. But what if your phone doesn't wirelessly charge? In my car, underneath this cover, there are a pair of USB-C ports down here, which is good. But of course, when you close it, it pinches the wire because there's literally no thought about how the wire comes out. And then if you plug it into the end of your phone, and this is a Google Pixel 6 Pro, you can't then put it up there, really, because it doesn't fit. It's going to slide around. You can't really put it on here because it's going to slide around and it's putting a bit of pressure on here. So essentially, unless you've got a wireless charging phone, you've got basically nowhere to put it. Whilst we're talking about the center console, there are just a couple of niggly bits for me that don't really seem to make a lot of sense. I've already talked about the USB-C chargers back here, where you end up where it's just trapping the wire. Now, there are various third-party adapters that you can get that plugs into one or both of the USB holes, and then you have a nice little row of vertical-facing ones here. But why have I got to buy an adapter? And similarly, the two cup holders here don't have any kind of rubber prongs to be able to keep things in there. There's plenty of third-party things that you can buy, but why do I have to go and buy them to fix something that's relatively basic on a car that costs £55,000? Tesla Model Y comes fitted with automated everything. You name it, they've automated it, including headlights. Now, most of the time, I actually find this not to be a problem. When you need the lights to come on, they come on. When you want them to go off, they go off. There's always a couple of edge cases where it's a bit gloomy and you want to turn them on. Every auto light system that I had for 20 years has always had that where you need to prod them a little bit. I think the issue that I really have with this is auto high beam. Now, there is the option here to turn auto high beam off, which is good. The problem is when you're on autopilot, and one of the reasons why you get a Tesla is because of autopilot, but on autopilot you can't turn auto high beam off, and they keep coming on all the time, even as you're going at traffic, and they're flicking on and off. And part of the reason for this is Tesla's move away from having cameras and sensors to a camera only Tesla vision system, where frankly it needs the extra light at night to be able to help you get around more, because the computer needs the light to be able to process everything, which is fine, except for the retinas of the drivers coming the other way who's got your car flashing LED high beams at them, and then of course your own retinas when they angrily flash back at you. This is a software issue. They could fix it, and I wish they would. We should talk about the seats. Now, these actually look really good, and the fake leather actually feels decent. I mean, it feels a little bit like the cheaper real leather that you get on most BMWs, and I have had a car that's got that. It's comfortable enough to sit in. There's quite a bit of squidge to it, but there are a couple of things for me. First of all, it doesn't come out far enough. So I've had cars with extendable under thigh sections, and it just doesn't quite come out far enough. And then perhaps it's only me, but in the month and a half or so that I've had this car, and the heading towards 4,000 miles that I've done, I still haven't quite got my seat as comfortable as I'd like it to be. And I don't quite know why that is, but I would have thought that I would have got there by now, and I still haven't. Is that me? Is that the seat? I'm not sure, but so far the seat's only an 8 out of 10 compared to, say, the 10 out of 10 that I had in my Volvo. One thing that you will see a lot of Tesla owners talking about, and you'll see a lot of potential Tesla owners asking questions about, is the way that you're actually given the cars. Now, I found that the contactless handover was actually really, really good. Mostly. So as an experience, it was fun. It's very different to most cars, although when I bought a Mini Cooper back in 2015, it was sat outside in the rain, and basically they just gave me the keys. So it's not unique to Tesla. What I think is unique to Tesla is a thing called pre-delivery inspection, or lack of PDI, because this car had quite a few things that they simply hadn't done. I've actually done videos on the fact that this car was delivered to me with no windscreen washer fluid in the reservoir at all. So yes, I wasn't pressing the button hard enough, but when I figured out how to do it, there was no fluid in there to come out however hard I press the button. I've also done a video talking about the mirror and the plastic surround that was still stuck on the mirror, which I've lovingly kept as a souvenir. That had been left on the mirror and really shouldn't have been. That, for me, is just one of these little details that you would think the guys in their service centres where they're handing these cars over would have a list. Similarly, on the backs of the mirrors, this still had a piece of plastic over it, as did this one, as did the little lumps up here, the magnets, where the mirrors go onto. This one still has, I don't know if you can actually see that with the light, this still has got its bit of plastic on it, because I've decided to leave it there almost as a testament to Tesla's staff's lack of eye of detail. So there you have it. Those are my list of things at the moment after a month and a half or so of ownership that annoy me about my Tesla Model Y. Please tell me in the comments what issues that you've got, or you've seen, or you're worried about if you're thinking about buying a Tesla, and let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I have got a lot more of these videos to come. The channel is still called just get a Tesla, because I really do believe that Tesla is the best option for EVs out there. And none of the things that I've just talked about are unique to Tesla. Most car designs have got odd little bits about them, or a poor bit of finish, or something that they haven't just thought about. My only issue here is that that cost 55 grand. And for that kind of money, you're expecting something that's going to be shiny, as my Volvo was, and it just isn't. So let me know what you think in the comments. Are there any brands that have got better build quality than Tesla for the same money? Let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.